The first question I had for Fred is just tell us a little bit about what's going on in South Africa with the coronavirus and how it's affecting the college.
Thank you very much to everybody who's present there. I really appreciate it very much. God bless you. Memorial. We are humbled at the way that you have kept us going for so many years, and the interest that you've shown, the love you've shown. And I will tell you a little bit about what the consequences of that love and interest have been. But just to give you an idea, we also are under threat as far as the virus is concerned. At the moment, we're still sort of beating it because we've had 13,500 infections. We've had 247 deaths, and we've had 6,083 recoveries. So we haven't done too badly so far. And the lockdown has been primarily responsible for that. The government's been very, very clever in the way they handle this. As you know, the current president, I used to work with him, I know him very well. We worked together a number of years ago, and he's got a sharp brain, and but he can only do so much, and we can only sustain this. As you know, the economy starts suffering, and it's having an impact on us as well, just like it's done even in the United States. But so far, we're holding our own. Our medical facilities are very clued up and very well equipped to deal with issues. But if it gets out of hand, it can get out of hand anywhere, as you experienced that in New York and the United States. So we're going to pray and see what we can do to sort of keep this down low. We hope and pray that it'll stay like that. But thanks be to you people for making it possible for us to continue to function as a college. So that as far as the corona is concerned, I don't know if you want me to talk about the college. It's over to you, Kirk.
Yeah, so what does that mean for your day-to-day life, though, Fred? I mean, what are you able to do, not do on this lockdown?
Well, I'm very busy as far as the church is concerned. We've got Zooming in on, we've got worship services, Sunday morning, Sunday night. And just to give you an idea, it's incredible how small the world is. On a Sunday morning, we're joined by the preacher from New Zealand. We're joined by people up in Africa, in North Africa, in Dubai. People join us on Sunday morning for the worship service we have. It's obviously just a Zoom, and it's just audio. And we have that every Sunday. And so that in that way, we've been able to obviously ascertain how many attendees in inverted commas we have, and sometimes it exceeds what we've had under normal circumstances. I think this is probably driving people to God and to the realization that we can't do everything on our own and live on our own steam, but that we are dependent on His grace and on His love and on His power. So we go in ahead. We have Bible studies as well, and the same principle is there. And I've been formulating a lot of things on the working of the Holy Spirit in people's lives and sending that out. Our Frida's been sending that out. So I've kept myself busy, and we've all kept ourselves as busy as what we possibly can within the ambit of the restrictions that have been placed on us. So we can go to a shop, and what we can do is Frida and I go to a mall, and then we walk from the one side to the other, and then we go back again. We're allowed to do that, and that's it. And we try and sort of keep ourselves reasonably fit in that way. But further than that, it's very difficult. It's there's an impact obviously on the social side of the interaction of human beings, on the economic side, and then on the emotional side. And those three are the big issues which impact here as well, and obviously in the United States and the rest of the world as well. So I preach on that too, especially the sermon coming up on Sunday is one just intent on building the congregation up and emphasizing, that our dependence should be on God and how much He does actually love us through Christ.
Well, it would be interesting to maybe get a link for that. So if anybody wanted to join in and hear your services, or Hubert, the services that you're involved with, that might be interesting to see. If y'all could send us links to that, we'll share it around.
Oh, we could do that. Thank you very much for that, Kirk.
Yeah. So Hubert, I know that Hubert introduced Hubert a while ago, but just to make sure, Hubert is on our board of directors. And Hubert, tell us just a little bit about your business. You said that you're an essential worker. So how is your day-to-day life impacted?
Good evening, Kirk, and good evening. Oh, is it good evening or afternoon? I don't know now.
It's
This
morning.
side, there's morning. Okay, to, to us it's in the evening. From the business side, from our case here, it has been going slow, although we are essential services. We deal with telecommunications, and as you know, telecommunications are essential. So we need to make sure that, if the lines are down, they're up and running. But it has been pretty slow and pretty tough. Although we are working daily, but we cannot have the full staff complement here. We can only have 1/3 of the staff to come to do the essential work, and others will have to work from home. And that's basically what is happening. On the church side, when the lockdown was announced, it sort of threw us in a very disorderly manner. We have to rely on doing things online, live streaming on Facebook, and we have a radio component which can run it via the internet called Mixler. The reason why we also decided to go to that one, where we are as a congregation, it's a low-income area, and buying data for connectivity, it is pretty expensive. So we were looking for something that is cheaper, and then we found that the radio component is cheap. It does not consume a lot of data, and then you can get through the whole lesson for the whole hour for about just $2, maybe, yeah, which is easier. Whereas with others, can be pretty pricey, and then they cannot afford. And the challenge in the low income area is that you find people are out of work, and now they don't have food. So although the church has been running some few benevolence issues program, we have to go there and make sure that those people get some food parcels, and then they can have food. It's not so easy, operating in that area, especially when you've got funerals, because funerals are restricted. You cannot just go and bury the way in which you used to do the burials. During the lockdown, I have been involved in 2 funerals, and I was conducting one today. You are only restricted to have 50 people in the church and also in the cemetery. So those are the things that you need to contend with. And the strict social distancing, sanitizing, time is restricted also. In the church, restricted to 1 hour. In the cemeteries, restricted to 1 hour. And that's it. And the police are there watching you all the time. And if you go beyond that, of course, you're going to be fined for that. So these are some of the challenges that we're dealing with. But anyway, as a congregation, we're going on. The Zooming one that Fred is using, I don't know, with us now, it doesn't work. It will not work, because most people won't even have access to it as well.
But
that's the national that I can say.
Did I see that you did a lesson on TV or something? Like Eddie was saying that somebody bought airtime on TV for the congregation.
We because we realized that it's difficult for data. We were looking at a means in which we can access a lot of people, and I think 1 or 2 brethren donated so that we can get a TV slot, which is not cheap either. And then we ran some couple of lessons, but it's expensive and it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. You can't do it for a long time. Most churches, if they do once or twice, they'll exhaust all their budget, and then they won't have any income. You'll have exhaust all your budget if you do that. So it's just a trial where you can do it maybe once, and then you encourage other one if they can come in, and then can help you with that one, and then you carry on. But it is very expensive. It is very expensive. But anyway, it helps that you get a wider audience, and then we had a wider audience in the whole SADC region. I mean, countries that are around in the Southern Africa, they could see the lesson being delivered. Yes, for the listeners, because they don't have to pay. for data, it's okay because it's cheaper on them. But on the congregation side, it's expensive. So you know you have to balance this. But you know, yeah, it is expensive. I must say that, very expensive.
Okay. Well, Fred, tell us about the college then, and how this is impacting students. What are students doing? Where are they at?
Well, what we've done is, Theo and I have been working with this intensely now. We've been trying to salvage what we can salvage in terms of the loss of interaction with the students and lecturing time. And so we've given them assignments to do where they are. They're obviously at their homes, and they obviously electronically submit these assignments. We have a special app which enables us to check to see if there's any plagiarism, and we've had to send things back, you know, in the normal way, and then they resubmit them. And so in that way, we basically teaching them the research part pretty well. We've been able to be very successful as far as the research aspect of education is concerned. The only problem that we have is there's still aspects of education as far as this is concerned, teaching people to go out and become preachers, which can only be done in a classroom setting. And so we're going to try and see what we can do as far as that is concerned, because it doesn't look like we're going to open up in June. We don't know when we're going to open up. And we've got everything in, all our ducks in a row, and we're going to prepare for them to come back. And they'll have to go into quarantine if they go into the dormitory for a certain period of time. We'll have to have a distance, social distancing from one another in terms of the interaction, because if just one mistake is made and the college is infected, then it'll jeopardize the whole function of the whole college, and everybody else will be negatively affected by that. So we've got to have a very stringent set of rules and regulations, which we're busy drafting at the moment. Some of them are legal provisions, which I'm building in there, so that the people agree to the fact that if they come back, don't wear masks and don't toe the line, that we can't have them there. It's just not, we can't take that risk. And if we do that, and we do get enough time, we still think we've got a month or two where we can lecture from 8 till 4 o'clock instead of 8 till 1 o'clock, and we might be able to just make this year, in other words, not lose the year. But we're praying that we'll be able to do that, and obviously depending on how severe the onslaught of the coronavirus is as well. That's also going to play a major role in terms of opening up and our access to the college. But at the moment, as it stands now, what we thought was going to happen, which would have been in about a week or two's time, doesn't seem like it's going to come to fruition, and we're still going to be locked down for quite a bit of time. Just those of you, it'd be remiss of me if I don't say thank you. Thank you to Memorial. We're really humbled, you know, by the support that you give us. And it's enabled us to make a massive impact in the area, not only in South Africa, but in the area in close proximity to the college. If you have a look at the province that we are in, there are 70 congregations in the province that we are in. And, you know, it consists of Johannesburg, Pretoria, Benoni, Boksburg, Brakpan, and some other towns and cities. And we have an interaction with them. They phone us if they don't know how to interpret the word. We give them direction in terms of doctrine and which way to go, and we've kept them on the road as far as the church is concerned. I would say this reservedly, but we are probably growing faster than any other congregation or any other church that there is, because of the fact that we are actively involved, especially during the period like this. And even before this, the church was making itself known in terms of its growth rate is vis-a-vis other congregations which aren't really growing. And this one too is going to open a door for us to, in terms of the charismatic groups, which are going to really suffer now because of this virus, because there's no healing taking place as far as that is concerned. So we're not going to be sadistic about it, but it's going to open a number of doors for us, and we're ready for that as well, to see if we can't capitalize on those who become disillusioned, and we can perhaps bring them into the fold of the church. So it's going pretty well as far as our organization is concerned, but obviously we've been curtailed because of the lockdown that we're currently experiencing. But thank you so much for your prayers, and thank you so much for everything that you've done for us. without you in Memorial, this would have not have been possible. We would never have been able to do and accomplish and preach the gospel to so many as we have been able to do without your help. Thank you, Kirk.
Okay. Yeah, so I've got some questions about that, but I do want to open it up to anybody else that might have some questions for you or Hubert about the college, about the virus and the lockdown, the church growth. Does anybody have some questions they'd like to ask them?
Is there any, have there been any baptisms during this shutdown or lockdown?
Hubert, I don't know if you have any from your side.
No,
Brother,
no.
from our side, we haven't had any baptisms.
No, we haven't had any. We haven't had any baptism.
I have seen some from students or former students on Facebook, but maybe not at your two congregations, but I have been seeing them on Facebook.
Not particularly at our congregation, if I can just jump in there. Not particularly at our congregation, but I know there are brothers in the Eastern Cape that have baptized a couple of people during this time as well. And I know also, I think one here in Johannesburg, one of the students, yes, they have baptized one, but not specifically in our congregation. No, we didn't have one.
Is there a mechanism in place to allow for that if someone watching a Zoom preaching opportunity decides that they would like to be baptized? Is there a mechanism to have someone meet them or contact them and do that?
From our side, yes, there is a mechanism that we can do. From our side, when we realized that we are on a lockdown, and then we had to conduct a funeral, and that was it was a learning curve. And then I realized that, as a congregation, we can actually register it with the authorities and say we are offering an essential service like a funeral and like social relief. If you are to distribute food parcels, you'll have to go and give them to people. That's what we've realized. And they've given us permission to say we can allow, say, 5 or so people to be working in the congregation. That's all. No worship service. The workers can come and just work a little bit, and then they can go, and that's it. And in that case, we can get a person to be baptized. When we do that, we'll have to seek permission also from the authorities to get that person to leave his house or her house to come to the baptistry. That can be arranged. We've established that we can do that. We say it's a caring thing. We need to do that. Then they can allow us to do that. That's what we have established. Yes, it can be done. But you have to go through. You have to go through a lot of things. It's not as straightforward as that. You see.
Now, I just wanted to add that I know there've been baptisms, but not from my congregation side and not from the college's side that I know of. But I know in the rest of the country where we have, for instance, some of the students that we have contacts with, we've heard that there have been baptisms, and exactly what Hubert said now, it's an exceptional circumstance, and they make provision for you as far as that's concerned. But you must make sure that you consult before you do it, otherwise some people get arrested, and then it's a whole big problem to reverse the whole legal process again. I don't know if there's anything else, Kirk, that you wanted us to deal with.
No, that's good. Are there any other questions?
Hey, Kirk, I've got a question. I was just curious. Is anyone at the college campus right now?
Yes, there's Beverly Lothian is actually she's actually the lady who lives there. She lives on site, and she's actually our chef. And we are actually consulting with her now to make it possible to repatriate the students when they come, if the lockdown is actually lifted, and everything, the distancing in terms of social distancing and all that sort of thing. We're going to have to draw lines on the carpet or just put tape there, whatever it might be. All that sort of thing she's busy with at the moment, just in anticipation of them coming back and working out where we're going to place them in the dorms, what regulations we're going to have, how the eating habits are going to change, or the serving of the food. So she's busy formulating something together with myself and together with Thea Rappard, who's also working on this. We want to try and see if we can get everything, all our ducks in a row, in case it does so happen that we just get an announcement from the president that we are going to be able to break the lockdown in terms of going back to studies. So yes, she's there on a permanent basis, and she lives there actually, and she's been there for many years, and she's really a gem. She's really an asset to the college.
So I guess, were you asking if there are any students there, Carrie?
No, I was actually asking, wondering if someone was there just, you know, that lived there permanently, or someone there to maintain the you know, the campus while the students were actually absent.
There you go. Okay, great. Other questions?
I noticed in the current fundraising, there is a request for security for the library because we're going to be upgrading all of the computers and everything. Is there security for the rest of the campus, like in particular now when not too many people are there?
We have, as far as our ability, you know, to do that was concerned, we have upgraded our security, the physical security, as you refer to. We have upgraded it. We've got an electric fence which is in place. It obviously requires intermittent maintenance. It doesn't last forever, and it requires. But so far we find, as far as that is concerned, it's not a big problem for us right now. It could turn to be a problem later on. We don't know what's going to happen, especially in terms of the duration of the virus and its negative impact on society. But at the moment, we are fine, and we really appreciate that. We really appreciate the funding that has come through for Memorial, and we're going to be involved shortly with the solar heating and the panels. We will save a lot of money in terms of our electrical bill. We're going to have batteries which store the power. And I've got somebody called Rob Cooks, a real expert on this. We're going to be installing this hopefully in the latter part of the year, and we'll be able to save a lot of money as far as that is concerned. But in terms of security, we are fine at this stage. We've obviously got to do maintenance on a reasonably regular basis as far as that is concerned. But hitherto, we've been able to manage. We've got somebody working there and lecturing at the same time. He just does half the lecturing that the others do, and he's pretty clued up and adept when it comes to electronic issues, and so he can help us with the fence as well.
So, Carol, just to follow up with that, I don't know if you've seen the picture of campus, or if you can go on Google Maps even, you can search Southern Africa Bible College, you can get a street view of campus and what it looks like. But it's got a wall and fence around the campus with electrified wires across the top. And one of the things we did probably 2 years ago in special fundraising when we replaced the roofs was also raise funds to fix that wiring and make sure that it's electrified where it had a break or something in the system. But that was one of the things we did to upgrade the security a couple of years ago. But I will also say Fred has a great idea. You know, one of the most feared animals in Africa is not the lion, it's the hippopotamus. Am I right, Hubert?
Sorry, I didn't get that right.
The hippopotamus is one of the most feared animals.
Oh,
In
yes.
South Africa. Yes.
Yes,
So,
it is.
Fred,
It is.
what's your idea for security on campus?
But we don't have hippopotamus in Johannesburg.
No, I made a joke once with Kirk, and I said we need to build a pool for a hippopotamus, and at night let him roam around. He'll cut the lawn. In fact, he'll forage on the lawn, and he'll keep anybody and everybody away. But he'll keep us away as well, and that's the problem with that.
That's just a thought.
So I wanted to ask, sort of, maybe you answered it a little bit. I was wondering, is Bev on campus alone? And if so, is she safe there alone?
Just to answer you, she's not far away. Eddie Nkosi lives literally, I'd say, about 300 yards from her. He's in in an adjacent territory. You know, there's just a wall separating him from where she is. So if she needs, and then Theo Rappard is about 300 meters away in a house which is across the road. So she feels pretty safe. She's got
and Bruce as well,
and an alarm system, and she can phone Theo and Eddie and quite a few other people in Benoni are in close proximity to her, and she's in contact with them too if she needs help.
And Bruce is around the campus.
Do Bruce and Marty live on campus?
Yes, around campus. Yeah, Bruce is, yes.
All right. What other questions? All right, Fred, then let me ask you this. What are some of the things going forward that you're most excited about with the college and with the church in Southern Africa?
Well, I'm excited about the fact that we've been able to not only hold our own, I think we've started to stretch out now, almost like a giraffe, you know, above the others. We were always looked upon as some sect which was trying to make ends meet, but the church is no longer regarded as a sect. It's regarded as a fully fledged church. I'm talking about the world sees us as a church, and they are drawn to us. So even in my congregation where I am, people come and walk in there, and we baptize people like that. They come. You don't only have to have not only have campaigns, but you find almost a reciprocal response in terms of spirituality from the other side, where people see what they've been taught in terms of denominational doctrines that is flawed, and that's not what the Bible teaches. Because we focus on the Bible, we don't become nasty or ugly or derogatory in the way that we teach the gospel. And this is what we tell the students: they mustn't go around and look for a fight. They must just preach Christ and Him crucified. That's the essence of it, and that works. And so far we've had a lot of success with that. And also I want to just mention that we've got some interns who are working for us, and they get support from the States, and I'd like to really express my appreciation very, very much for that. I've got a very, very strict reporting system going for them so that we don't have a problem, and so that they can tell us on a monthly basis what they've done, how many people they've made contact with. We obviously understand and have to cut them some slack now during this lockdown period, but I want them to be busy all the time in the congregation, not just going to church. Going to church means nothing, and we've had that in the past. Many years ago, we've had some who actually took us for a ride, but we are pretty wary of that now. So we get reports which are not formulated by the recipients of the support themselves, but by other people who report to us. Then, in that way, we get the full picture. And I'm very impressed, because you've had some baptisms from them during this time. In fact, one of them happened down in the Eastern Cape as one of those recipients of support from the United States. So it's going well. I just want to thank you again, and thank Memorial from the bottom of my heart for all of this. It's really made a massive, massive impact on South Africa as far as the church is concerned.
So, go ahead, Dan.
I was going to ask, Fred or Hubert, any idea from the government officials how much longer the lockdown may take place?
From the government side, they are intending to come from level 4, where we are now, to level 3, which means that there's going to be more of a relaxed type of a situation, more of opening up of the economy and some of the activities. And that they are envisaging that is going to take place from the 1st of June. But we don't know exactly, what is going to entail to do that. But there's a lot of indication that the president has indicated to us that they want to move down to level number 3. However, there are some areas, because our virus here is like there are hotspots where the virus is quite prevalent, like in the Western Cape, in Cape Town. it's a hotspot area. In Johannesburg, it is a hotspot, not in Pretoria where Fred stays, but here where I am in Johannesburg, that's where there's a hotspot. And also in Durban, down in the coast, in the city of Durban, but not really the whole city, but there is one location, a township as we call it here, which is a hotspot, which is a problematic, Umlazi, if you know it, Fred. So these are and Eastern Cape as well, which is also another area which is proving to be difficult. So they want to isolate those areas and say, okay, maybe the rest you can go on a lower stage, but this hotspots area, maybe they might even upgrade them or let them remain in that in the state of level 4 now, going forward. But the move is that by the beginning of June, they want to move down to level number 3, which is going to be better, will give us some more freedom to do things. And probably even schools and colleges may open as well, and we start operating.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, Hubert has just said that there's also from some schools. In fact, my daughter teaches in a high school. She teaches the grade 10s, and she's just been told by the headmaster that she mustn't come back on the 1st of June, and that's been postponed. So I don't know where she got the information from. So there was an indication that the 1st of June was basically the lifting of the lockdown to a certain extent, and now somebody else from higher education, which we fall under in terms of the Universities Act, has also intimated that the government's having second thoughts on that, because the deaths amongst adults is one thing, but when children, if they start contracting the virus and if they start dying, it's going to be chaos. So I don't know if that's going to come to fruition, but what Hubert said is right. They were pushing for that. Whether it's going to materialize, I don't know.
So you said that, Fred, that there are 70 congregations in that, maybe the Gauteng area? Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
How does that compare with 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever? Do you have any stats on growth like that?
No, it's changed radically. With the church has really grown. I don't want to. If you want me to, I can actually try and put something together, but I cannot. I don't want to hazard a guess. What I will say, however, is that it's a radical climb. The church has grown substantially over the last couple of years, and I think, and that's I alluded to it earlier on. I think it's because people have realized that denominationalism isn't something that comes out of the Bible. They realize that the Church of Christ teaching isn't the Church of Christ teaching. It's the biblical rendition of what Christ came to do, and it's got nothing to do with what the Church of Christ teaches, who has formulated that needs to be taught. It is purely just the Bible. In fact, when we teach the students when you go out and have campaigns. And we learned a lesson from that. A number of years ago, we had a campaign in Cape Town. And I'll say this to my shame, it wasn't a good campaign. We baptized one person in a campaign in Cape Town. And then we changed that, especially to give the students an emphasis on the fact that it's just the Bible that we're teaching. The very next campaign, the 2 campaigns they went on, the first one, they baptized 40 people in a period of 2 weeks. And the one after that, they baptized just under 20 people in about 14 days. So I think the emphasis is having a big impact too. And it's also the culture of the country. I think the country realizes that for so many years they've been drawn into this denominationalism which divides, which is divisive and which isn't biblical. So in that way, I think we've made ends meet. And it's not so much confrontational as what it is trying to bring people to what Christ wants them to do. And I think that's the way, and they're starting to see it in that way. I think that has had a lot to do with the fact that we have 70 congregations in this area. If I had to hazard a guess, I'd say about 15 years ago, there wouldn't have been more than 30, maybe, congregations.
Yeah.
A lot of these, I must hasten to say that of those congregations, a lot of them operate out of houses. They're not house churches, but they have no other venues to congregate, and so they get together in their houses. And that is why you have so many in some of the areas. But they spread in the word, and so we support them as far as that is concerned.
Okay. Great. Any last questions? Anything else?
What percentage, what kind of increase in donations and contributions are needed? I mean, do you need to double because of the impact of the COVID virus, or, you know, kind of where we are compared to where we would have been last year this time?
Brother, I'd be lying if I had to hazard a guess there. I really appreciate the question. It's a fantastic question. We'll have to do a lot of homework when we get, you know, when I want to go back to the college. I'm not allowed to go back. As soon as I get back, we can evaluate and see how many. See, we haven't had students at the college now for a period of time, so we've saved some money on as far as obviously feeding students is concerned. But we want to try, and the Hubert can come in on this. Hubert is going to take over the lobbying and the promotional aspect of the college, and I think we're going to have a massive growth in the student intake when he does do that, and so that will push up the student intake, and obviously that'll have an impact on the number of students and commensurately, obviously, on the amount of funding that we will need. But I will. As time goes by, I will be able to inform Memorial. I'll keep them up to date if you want me. Well, I'll do that as a matter of courtesy. In any case, every month I will let you people know what progress we're making and how we estimate things will increase, because the things will definitely increase once Hubert starts with that promotion. But he can't. He's also under lockdown, obviously, so he hasn't been able to do that now. So thank you so much, brother. Really appreciate that to all of you. My heart goes out to you in gratitude for the incredible work that you've done for us, for the support and for the love that you have for us. As you know, and I'll say this openly, we have more black students than white students, and it's not because it's racial in that way. It's because it's representative of the demographics of the country. And so we don't get that tag. We don't have that negative tag on us. We don't have it from the other side either, and I'll say that, thank the Lord for that. We don't have that. The only thing that we have now, the only constraint we have now is obviously this lockdown. I think when Hubert gets going, we're going to be able to expand appreciably, and then I'll be able to communicate more realistically and with obviously with a firmer estimate as to what our expenses and income is going to be. Thank you very much for that question. I really appreciate it.
So I'll follow up with that. For some of you, you might not know that about 25% of the funding comes from South African churches and individuals, and that has grown quite a bit in the last few years. So Fred, how are you seeing any impact or change in that right now? Have those donations started slowing down? What's in generalities? I know it's kind of early.
But to be honest with you, the two biggest contributors are my own congregation and Benoni. They basically support, as far as the 25% is concerned, I think that between the two of them, they make up 20%. For the rest, it's scattered around the country. And obviously it's because of the impact that I have on my congregation, the impact that Al Horn, when he was still director of the college, has on Benoni. But we are working on other congregations. It's just very difficult at this point in time to, not only that, we've had a bit of a recession in terms of the church funding position, and we didn't want to go all out in terms of funding until things settle, especially now with the COVID virus, which is a big problem. So when that settles and the economy starts settling, then we'll start approaching, which I've done in the past, congregations, and just speak to them and see if they can't up their contributions. We still receive contributions from other congregations. Some of them just send a small amount of money. Some of them send only 10 Rand, which is basically in US dollar terms less than $1. But that's what they can afford, and we don't want to push them. If they're prepared to do that, God bless them for what they're able to support us with. But at the moment, we are doing fine, and we want to thank Memorial. and everybody for what they've done, especially Kirk. God bless you for having your hand on everything. You and Christy have really been assets to the college and been wonderful ambassadors for us. We really appreciate it very much.
Very kind. Ben, did you have a follow-up question on that?
I basically am trying to summarize information so that I can present it to the elders at the Fifth Ward congregation. And in terms of big pictures, wanting to appeal to how much more the congregation can contribute. So that kind of information would be kind of helpful to me.
Okay. Yeah. So on this side, let me go ahead and attack this, Fred, if you don't mind. I'll tell you from fundraising in the States, so far, we have continued, congregations, individuals have continued with their regular donations. So that's moving along pretty good. I think the effect is going to be felt more long-term on that, because we do have a lot of donations at the end of the year because people giving stock, things like that. And if the stock's not appreciating, we might not be getting as much, so that could be hurtful as the year goes on. One of the things that was suggested, I think it was Matt Bell in the emails I talked about the fundraising for the library, and asked the council, for your council, on entering a fundraising campaign right now. And I think with all the feedback that I got, that we will start to raise funds specifically for the library. Frankly, because of the $20,000 to $25,000 that we were talking about in that initial amount, $15,000 has already been committed to that. So that's a pretty good amount to get started with. But also, Fred and Beverly and Theo are working on figuring out expenses for reopening. And what is it going to take to bring people in again, all the cleaning, all the extra regulations, how much is that going to cost? They're going to work up that amount and give us an estimate, and we will enter it into the special fundraising campaign amount that we'll have. So it could end up being $30,000, $40,000, just depends on what they come back with. So that's what we're working on now. Great question. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. And thank you, Kirk, for everything you've done. We really appreciate it very, very much.
Thanks, Fred. All right. Really appreciate your time today. I'm excited that this council, there's several people missing, but that's okay. You can't expect everybody to be here, be able to have the time on a day like this, but really appreciate your insights, your love for this ministry, what you have done for it, what you will do for it, your wisdom, and just want to say how much we appreciate it. And I'm excited that you got to have some FaceTime with Fred and Hubert. Definitely heart and soul behind the ministry and keeping it going. So I'm excited about where it's going. One thing that I hope that you got more than anything else from this is how fast the church is growing in Southern Africa. That is, to me, that's exciting. This might have slowed it down a little bit, but people are still reaching out, and the gospel is still being preached, and people are still responding. So I'm really excited about how fast it's growing and the impact that it's making. And so for me, it reiterates the fact that we need to get as many students in, equip them, and out while the fields are white for harvest in Southern Africa before they find meaning in something else. Because we know there are people out there looking. So any final words, any last comments somebody like to say?
Could I just say thank you to Danny, Carol, to Terry, Matt, and Laurie. And I don't know if Kerry is on the phone. Is he on the phone?
He's there. Yes.
Okay, well, thank you so much to all of you. God bless you for what you've done. You don't know how many souls have been saved because of what you've done. Really appreciate it very, very much.
Well, Fred and Hubert, you guys are doing amazing work there, and we greatly appreciate y'all's efforts.
Thank you.
We thank God for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Maybe I can just chip in and say thank you very much. You from the United States and the great work that you are doing. When you explain it in ways, it's kind of difficult. Sometimes you need to come over and have a look. That will help you to have a bigger picture, like what Kirk has been doing. Inviting people to come over and have a look. It's good. We'll invite you to come. Not with the coronavirus, but anyway, we invite you to come. Okay, thank you very much.
I've been trying. We got delayed till September, but now I've been hearing September it might not be good. So
no, I don't think it will be good. I don't think it will be good. Yeah. Okay.
Well, if you don't mind,
Okay.
let me lead us in a prayer, and then we'll be in the call. So thanks again for your time. Father, we just thank you so much for this day, for the blessings that you have given us. Father, we acknowledge that everything we have comes from you. And Father, I know for us in the United States, it's amazing to hear of a place where people are receptive to the gospel, where they openly come in to seek you, to seek your word, and that your word is spreading quickly, and churches are being established and growing from homes to buildings to just all different places in Southern Africa. And we just thank you that your word is alive and active and changing people's lives. And we pray that you will bless those who are in that field and help them as they work to get your message out. And we pray that you bless us here in the States, not only to support that, but to also share your word with the people around us, and that you will open hearts to hear your message. Father, we ask for wisdom. Thank you for Southern Africa Bible College, its staff, students, and alumni. And we just pray that you will bless them in all they do, and be with us as council as we work together to find funding needed for it to continue to grow and expand beyond what it's doing even now. We thank you, Father. Thank you for Jesus. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen.